Picture this. It's the night before an exam. You've spent 2 hours with your notes open. You've read through everything, highlighted a few things, gone over the main sections a couple of times. You go to bed feeling reasonably okay. Then you sit down for the exam, and the vague confidence you had the night before, it evaporates. You've been through this. Most students have. And the frustrating thing is that it happens even when the effort was real. The problem isn't how hard you studied. The problem is how you studied. Specifically, you used passive revision. And passive revision is one of the least effective methods available. Today, I'm going to walk you through the TATE method. Test, apply, test, exit. This is what actual retention looks like. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why it works, and why almost everything else doesn't. Let's start by diagnosing the problem. When a student rereads notes, they're processing familiar material. The information already exists somewhere in their memory, or at least enough of it to produce a sense of recognition as they read. And that recognition feels like knowledge. But it isn't. Recognition is the ability to identify something as familiar when you encounter it again. Recall is the ability to produce that information independently, when prompted by nothing more than an exam question. Exams test recall. Passive revision builds only recognition. The gap between those two things is where marks disappear. There's also a targeting problem. Passive revision treats all material equally. You read through everything, spending as much time on what you already know as on what you don't. That's profoundly inefficient. The knowledge you already have cannot be improved by rereading it. Only the gaps can be closed. A TI finds the gaps first, and then focuses exclusively on them. Here's the most robust finding in learning science over the last 100 years. Retrieving information from memory strengthens the memory more than rereading the same information does. This is called the testing effect, or retrieval practice. It has been replicated consistently across decades of research. Here's why it works. When you genuinely attempt to recall a piece of information, not recognize it from a page, but actually produce it from memory, your brain does something active. It searches for the memory. It strengthens the pathways involved in finding it, and it re-encodes the information in a form that's more accessible next time. The process is effortful by design, and that effort isn't a drawback, it's the mechanism. The difficulty of retrieval is precisely what makes the memory durable. Rereading, by contrast, is passive. The information is presented to you. You recognize it. Nothing in your memory is reconstructed or strengthened. It feels like learning, but produces comparatively little of it. TATE is built entirely around active retrieval. Every step involves the student producing knowledge, not consuming it, which is why it produces the kind of retention that passive revision cannot match. Let's go through the method itself. T. Test. Test yourself on the material before reviewing any notes. I know that feels uncomfortable. Most students want to review first, but that's actually the wrong order. And here's why. Attempting to answer questions before reviewing notes is more effective than reviewing first, because the attempt, even when unsuccessful, primes your memory for the information that follows. You're not wasting effort by getting things wrong. You're preparing your brain to receive and hold what comes next. This first test is your baseline. It shows you exactly which parts of the topic you genuinely know and which you don't. That's the information you need. In the LAS Revision Master, this test is generated automatically the moment you tell the app what topic you need to revise. You don't need to create questions. They're there, ready to go. A. Apply. Apply learning strategies to only the questions you got wrong. This is where TATE diverges most sharply from everything else. The material you answered correctly? It's already in memory. Reviewing it is unnecessary. It's wasted time. Take only the questions you got wrong. Find the relevant notes or material, and apply the virtual reading and understanding strategies to genuinely learn that specific content. Not reread it. Actually learn it. If any words in the questions themselves were unclear, resolve those first. Your study time is now focused exclusively on real gaps, nothing else. 2. Test again. Test yourself a second time, but only on the questions you got wrong. This second test is shorter than the first. It covers only the material from your gaps. This second retrieval attempt does two things. First, it strengthens the memory traces you just formed during the apply step. Second, it identifies any remaining gaps, things that still need another round of the loop. If you score 100%, you're done. If not, return to apply for whatever remains, and test again. The loop repeats until every single gap is closed. Exit. Exit when you hit 100%. Not before. I want to be really clear about why this standard exists. Stopping revision when material feels familiar is exactly what passive revision does, and it's exactly what leaves gaps that appear under exam pressure. A student who stops at 70% has confirmed that 30% of the topic is not reliably in their memory. They might not feel that in a relaxed study session, but they will feel it when they're in an exam, and that 30% is being tested. A student who exits at 100% has confirmed, by their own testing, that the knowledge is complete. That confidence going into the exam is founded on evidence, not hope. That is not the same as feeling ready. It is knowing you're ready, because you have the results to prove it. Let me compare TATE directly to the methods most students use. Rereading notes. Retention. Low. Performance under pressure. Poor. Why? Passive recognition. No retrieval. All material treated equally. Highlighting. Retention. Very low. Creates the feeling of engagement without the substance. No retrieval happens. No gaps are identified. Summarizing. Moderate retention. Better than highlighting, but still passive. You're producing a compressed version of what you read, not testing whether you can actually retrieve it independently. Flashcards. Moderate. Better, because there's some retrieval happening. But flashcards test facts in isolation, and they don't adapt to close your specific gaps. TATE high retention. High performance under pressure, high time efficiency, because every minute is spent on active retrieval, targeted at precisely what isn't yet known. Here's something counterintuitive. Despite being more demanding per minute, TATE typically requires less total time than passive revision to achieve genuine mastery. The reason is targeting. If you already know 60% of a topic, passive revision makes you spend time on that 60%. TATE skips it entirely. You spend zero time on what you already know. As the loop progresses and gaps close, each subsequent test is shorter. The apply phase covers less material. The process converges on mastery rather than circling indefinitely around the same content. Students who use TATE consistently report needing less revision time to feel genuinely prepared, not because they're doing less, but because what they're doing is precisely targeted. One more thing I want to cover. The LAS Revision Master. Everything I've just described, the full TATE loop, is automated inside the Revision Master. You tell the Easy AI what topic you need to revise. It generates the test, marks your answers, identifies the gaps, generates the follow-up test on those specific gaps, and runs the loop until you hit 100%. You don't manage the process. You just do the work. And every completed session earns XP, which tracks your progress and connects to the wider LAS ecosystem. The bottom line is this: if you're revising by rereading, you are building recognition. And recognition is not what exams test. TATE builds recall, actual retrievable knowledge that holds up when you're in that room with a question paper in front of you. Test first, study only the gaps. Test again, exit at 100%. The Revision Master in LAS automates the entire process. Link is in the description. If this changed how you think about revision, share it, because I promise someone you know is still rereading their notes. Download the Learning Anything Strategies app for free from the Apple or Google stores. I'll see you in the next one.